But again, it's always been said that the central bank, and it's been admitted that the central bank has limitation when it comes to the tools, the monetary policy tools it can deploy to tackle the problems we have. So the central bank is in a very tight corner. How do you think the central bank can get out of this for dilemma or a quagmire in which it's boxed to a corner and it has very little room or instruments to mediate in the market, to drag banks to lend into very critical sectors? How much more do you think monetary policy can achieve moving forward?
I think part of what I would like to suggest at this point is we've seen what the positive results based on the intervention loan within the agri space that is been yielding results. The CBN can also try to identify what other critical sector would government like to grow. If you also set aside intervention funds, though must be properly managed and monitored, then it will complement the efforts of the government to grow that particular sector that will have more multiplier effect on the GDP of the economy.
So we're practically, we're practically handing over the governance of moving the economy forward of this country to the central bank. That's what we're doing.
No, it's just, I'm saying...
to go that route.
No, I'm trying to say complement. The fiscal authorities are there to come up with policies that will attract private investors. Governments cannot fund most of the infrastructure deficits we have in the economy. So government is there to come up with policies, incentives that will attract and will also give assurance to private investors that once they, the government would adhere to whatever rules that is set before that will attract foreign investors to any particular sector. So what I'm just trying to say is the CBN can also be there to complement what the fiscal authorities would do.
Okay, let's move to the markets. Let's depth there a little bit. Do you think we've done enough to? As one of our viewers, Shola Ogunayi, put it on Twitter, it says the MPC of the central bank is trying to placate the foreign portfolio investors with their decision on their key policy rates. Do you think we've done enough for the foreign portfolio investors to show very good behavior, quote unquote, on our part, and then we need to move on from just placating foreign portfolio investors with a currency devaluation, with high yield on our financial assets they are picking up for cheap?
I think, building trust also takes time. It's very easy to destroy it because of what has happened in the past. Some of the foreign investors are still skeptical, and you can see, looking at the investors and exporters window, it's over 6 months now since April that it was set up. And because of the consistency and in terms of stability that has been experienced within that window, confidence have begun to also improve. So we know we are not yet there, but taking baby steps, and as we approach, as they see some form of stability, despite the CBN intervention, external reserves have been growing. These are some of those things that would also add up and build confidence for foreign investors. We need those inflows to help stabilize so that we don't use all our external reserves to defend or to intervene in the FX market. So the CBN, we know how the Nigerian economy is structured. We can't do without these foreign portfolio investors. I know we still have a lot in terms of convergence of the exchange rates, which most of the foreign investors have been clamoring for, but with what we've been able to, the CBN has been able to achieve within the I&E window, over $18.5 billion in the last 6 or 7 months. And when you look at with the average volume that is being consummated on a daily basis, that is what will give confidence. The forward market, the NDF, non-deliverable forwards, when you also see people can also lock in and reduce their exposure to the market. FX supply has improved. These are some of those things that scared away foreign investors in the past.
So far in 2017, do you think the monetary policy environment had been favorable to local retail investors? Because it looks like The foreign portfolio investor seems to be the one having the carrot part, while the local investors, do you think they have part of that big carrot, or they're just holding the stick, trying to hang in there while we placate, quote unquote, the foreign portfolio investors?
No, indirectly, they've also been supportive of the retail investors, because when you look at how the effect is that when there was FX illiquidity, most of the quoted companies on the Nigeria Stock Exchange were not performing. A lot of them booked a lot of FX losses. But now with the improvement in FX supply, most of these companies can buy raw materials in terms of projection. They can plan in terms of the FX obligations, and some of them are able to even service their FX obligations. A letter of credit, for some of them, they've been able to access more opportunity within that area. So indirectly, as that adds up to the bottom line of companies that are quoted, it means that there will be improved earnings, and as a result, it translates into improved dividend for the retail investors. So indirectly, I feel also the CBN have been supportive of the retail investors.
Finally, what's your market's outlook for the new year?
Yeah, towards the end of this year, we would expect to see more sell-off, because when you look at mark-to-market on a year-on-year, well, most portfolio managers may have significant capital appreciation in their portfolio, but for them to book that income, they need to sell off this portfolio. Though it's not going to that will not translate into panic selling. It's going to present opportunity for new entrants, and we feel in the new year it's new target for portfolio investors, and we'll see a lot of buying, early bird positioning ahead of full year 2017 results, because we've seen the last 2 or 3 quarters of this year, for most companies, have been able to stabilize, reduce their FX due to FX increase in FX supply. So as a result, we expect that results will be largely positive, and that will translate into improved dividend. So we'll see a lot of bargain hunting in January, after the sell-off that will be witnessed as we approach the year end in 2017.
Ayede Jiebo, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer at Afrinvest Securities. Thank you very much, straight out of our Lagos studios there. Let's continue the conversation on Business Morning after the break. We'll be back in 2.